If you're wondering whether a cake made with homemade almond milk is any better than a cake made with the store-bought version of almond milk, you're in the right place. Today I'm going to be testing out the same cake recipe with homemade almond milk made from scratch with real almonds and the store-bought version that everyone gets. And we're going to finally see which one tastes the best. Are you ready? Let's do this. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, and if this is your first time here, hi, I'm Natalia Lima, founder and owner of Curious Cat Bakery. So when it comes to plant-based milk and baking, I know a thing or two. You see, before I was making thousands of people the best desserts I've ever had that just happened to be vegan, I was just another clueless vegan googling recipes and eating a lot of really bad and dry cake. That wasn't working out for me. So now that I've cracked the code on vegan baking, I find it my mission to not only feed you, but to teach you how you can do the same. So if you want to know how to bake amazing things that definitely do not taste vegan, that's the key here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified every time a new video comes out. So today's video is part 3 in my series of plant-based milks in baking. If you didn't check it out, part 1 and 2, I'll put the links in the description below. In part 1, I looked at nut-based plant milks like almond and macadamia. And in part 2, I looked at other types like soy, flax, hemp, and oat milk. Now today, we're checking out the difference between homemade and store-bought versions. Listen, at the end of today, we're gonna finally have an answer to which one is the ultimate best plant-based milk for baking. Let's do this. So this was my first time making fresh almond milk from scratch. I soaked my almonds the night before, and then today, here they are. I put them in the blender with some filtered water, and then I put that through a cheesecloth, and look at that, I have fresh almond milk. Who am I? I feel like a true pioneer woman here. Don't judge. Never made this before, and feeling very accomplished. Looks just like the actual almond milk from the store. I don't see a difference in the looks. The color of it, I was expecting it to be runnier and watery, but it's actually the same kind of texture. And now that we have that, we'll add it to the cake recipe. I feel like the batter was a little lighter, not runnier, but it just felt airier. Now let's do the store-bought version. I'm using Blue Diamond. Now if you look at the label, where is the label? Now, if we look at the label for the almond milk here, you know that it's not just almonds in there. There's a couple of things that I can't pronounce: calcium carbonate, sea salt, potassium citrate, a bunch of other things that I don't know what to do with. You see that it's not just almonds out there. Though, according to the website, they're there to make sure that the milk doesn't separate and it stays fresh inside of here. I'm not about to question that. I use this all the time in all my bakes for the bakery, and it's just fine. But now we know that the recipe is not exactly the same. The fresh one is just almonds and water, while this one has a couple of other things thrown in there. Now the texture, I don't see a difference, and I don't see a difference in color either. Once again, the batter looks a little different. I'm used to this one because I use store-bought milk for all of the cakes at the bakery, but let's put them in the oven and see what comes out. Now, while we wait for those cakes to bake, I'm curious, do you guys make your own homemade almond milk? I mean, I'm feeling super accomplished here that I did this. I don't know if I could do this every day though. I mean, I have almond milk all the time, and I mean, for the bakery, I use a lot of it. So I don't think I could do it from scratch every day, but do you guys do this? Let me know in the comments below. Now let's get to the tasting of these milks. Now, the first thing that I noticed is that for two types of cakes with the same kind of milk, they baked really differently. The homemade version baked a lot darker than the store-bought version. What that means? I'm not quite sure. It could be, like we said, that there are different kinds of things thrown into the store-bought version, and that's definitely affecting how it bakes. But I was surprised that the homemade one was the one that baked darker. Now let's see about that taste. It tastes like cake. There's not anything that stands out to me. There's nothing like super sweet or super nutty about it. It tastes like regular cake to me. Absolutely no difference whatsoever, except that it baked darker. So this is the version of the cake with the store-bought almond milk. Now, it baked a lot lighter, and it baked like all the cakes that I do for the bakery bake. So I'm used to it. I also have tasted it a million times, but for comparison's sake, let's take another bite. I mean, I'll never get tired of trying my own cakes though, I have to admit. So, I have to say, Now that I've compared both of them like that back to back, the homemade version was a little bit sweeter, and dare I say, a little bit better. I think that one tasted a little better than this guy. I mean, they're both good. They're both good vanilla cakes, but the homemade milk one was a little bit better. I need to do a second try. That's pretty amazing. I mean, when you're talking about running an actual bakery, I don't think it would be feasible to make cake with homemade almond milk all the time. But if you're doing it at home, the homemade almond milk might be the way to go. I would say that they're both very good replacements, and both of them worked really, really well. Actually, texture-wise, they were identical, but when it came down to taste, they were nearly identical. So I would say if you're doing this at home and you don't mind having the extra step of going through an overnight process of making your own almond milk, go for it. But honestly, it's not worth it. So there you go. I really hope this helps you in your vegan baking. And if you're just getting started and all this plant-based milk stuff is a little overwhelming, believe me, I get it, which is why I put together my top 10 tips for successful vegan baking. These are the tips that I wish somebody had given me when I was just getting started, and you can get it completely free. I'll put the link below in the description. You just go in there, put in your email, it gets delivered straight to your inbox. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys here next Tuesday with a new video. Until then, you might want to watch part 1 of this series where I looked at 4 different kinds of nut-based milks, and part 2 where I looked at other types like soy and oat milk. I hope you enjoy this. I will see you guys here next week. Until then, stay curious.